G'day, righto. We are live. Happy February 19th. Geez, the year's flying by. We're already in February. God, soon I'm going to do my next live video and it's going to be December. Hope you guys are having an awesome 2026. Hope you had a great Valentine's Day last week. Hope you spoilt your partners. It's a big day. Got to make it flashy. Not that I think much of it, but anyways, that's for another story. Welcome back to a franchising live series. If it's your first time, welcome to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Be one of the first to get the videos. I drop videos. We're doing 2 episodes a week now. There's plenty of shorts, content about franchising, business, entrepreneurship. It's good. It's really good stuff. And if you're joining live, put a comment, guys. Would love for you to comment here on the live stream. Let me see who's on. So if you're live, drop a comment. We can do a little bit of a Q&A at the end. We've got some people joining in as we're speaking. Alrighty, franchising live series team, where I break down one new franchise topic for you. Now, last week, before I talk about this week's episode, last week I spoke about why most franchises fail and how to avoid it. And it was a really, really good episode. I talk you through the 3 common reasons why franchises fail and also how to avoid it. And you got to remember, I'm being very honest and transparent with you. In fact, I spoke to a person the other day. And he said to me, and hey, we got Neil from Victoria. G'day, Neil. In fact, the story was from Neil. He said to me the other day, he's like, man, you're very transparent and honest about the information and data. And I like that. I took it as a compliment because I think I'd like to be transparent and honest with you before you come into a franchise, right? If you're going to hand over $60,000, $50,000, whatever the fee is, I want to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And I'm very transparent with everybody before they become a franchisee. And so shout out to Neil, by the way, for that comment. So that's what we spoke about last week. We spoke why most franchises fail and how to avoid it. But today is going to be a different episode. It's going to be a little bit controversial. I'm sorry if the title of the episode rustles your feathers, but it's true and it's honest. And the title of the episode, it's more of a statement, is if you need hand-holding, don't buy a franchise. I'll say that one more time. If you need hand-holding, don't buy a franchise. Now, before you start losing it and you get upset by the episode title, hear me out. I'm going to cover 3 very important points that you need to know before you buy a franchise. And then maybe at the end of the episode, you'll understand where I'm coming from. If not, we can chat about it later. So one of the common questions I get when I'm taking discovery calls about people interested in purchasing a Little Boomers basketball franchise is, Emil, like if I hand over, $60,000 or whatever the fee is, are you going to take my money and run? How do you support me? Now, they don't say it like that, but I kind of get what they mean on the phone. Like once the deal gets signed and the franchise agreement is finished, is that it? Are you guys going to run off or are you going to support me? And that's a question that we're going to be addressing today. But there's a really major problem when it comes to franchising. I'm going to be straight up and honest with you. The problem is with the word support. Support is a very vague word that gets a lot of franchisors and a lot of franchisees in trouble because support can mean different things when it comes to franchising. If I asked you a question and I said to you, what does support mean to you in terms of a franchising network? You might give me one answer. If I then ask another franchise buyer, what does support mean to you? He or she might give a different answer completely. The problem is a lot of franchise brands, and we do it as well, advocate support. That's why you're coming into a franchise network. You're coming in for that support. If you weren't, then you might as well start up your own business. But the problem is nobody really takes the time to talk about what support actually is. What do you mean by support? Is support us doing it? Is support you doing it? It's a very vague word. And we're going to be covering exactly what I mean by support today. But that's the problem, guys. Support, it's just too vague. It doesn't cut it. So let's go over it. My first point is support is a 2-man band, not a 1-man band. I'm going to say that one more time. Support is a 2-man band, not a 1-man band. What do I mean by that? When I think about support in the franchise network, it's the franchisee doing their stuff and putting their hard work in and putting effort in. And it's also the franchisor doing their end. It's not one or the other. It's not the franchisee not doing anything and head office doing everything and vice versa. And I've actually got a little formula for success that I call in franchising. It's called this. This is a success formula. Your effort plus our support equals success as a franchise operator. But it works in unison. They can't live with each other, right? If you, the franchisee, aren't pulling your weight in and putting effort into the business, right, you can't expect a magic pill from the franchisor to do all the hard work for you. And vice versa. If you're doing all the hard work in the franchise, but you're not getting that support from the franchisor, then you're not going to be successful. So the secret formula is your effort plus our support equals your success. They can't live without each other. But the reality is, if you're coming into a franchise, you've got to do a lot of effort. There's a lot of hard work that you, the franchisee, needs to do. Yes, it's rewarding. Yes, you're your own business owner. Yes, you can make profit. Yes, you can make an income. Yes, you might be able to sell your franchise for more than what you bought it. However, effort is required from you, the franchisee. And I think where the issue is when people hear the word franchising, it's synonymous with established, franchising, established model, already there, proven success. And I think that automatically reprograms people to think they don't have to work as hard as if they were to start their own business. And that's where I think the problem is. It's with franchising, because, with the word franchising, synonymous, established model and all that. But just remember, there's a lot of effort that's still required for you, the franchisee. It's a two-man band, not a one-man band. And I'll give you a really great analogy. Take, for example, a personal trainer. If you have a personal trainer in the gym, right? And the personal trainer is saying, hey, we're going to do 3 sets of bicep curls. The personal trainer can't do the weight. They can't lift it for you. You need to lift it. They can give guidance. They can tell you the proper technique, right? They can show you how to do it. But at the end of the day, you need to lift the weight if you want to get the result. It might sound stupid, but it's a great analogy. You need to lift the weight. You need to kill the dumbbells. Again, the trainer can guide you, but you need to do the heavy lifting. If the personal trainer says, hey, this is your diet, I want you to follow this macronutrients, I want this amount of protein, this amount of carbohydrates, this amount of fats, I want you to stay off this food, and you leave the training session, and then for whatever reason, you decide to go to Macca's after KFC, or maybe you indulge in a dinner, it's not the personal trainer's fault. The personal trainer gave you the guide, gave you the recommendations. That's like in franchising. Every franchise has a blueprint, has an operations manual. It's your job to follow it. If you don't follow it, you can't come up to the franchisor and say, hey, things aren't working. You get my drift, team? Very important to understand. And I'll give you a real life example. And this was quite interesting. Very early on, one of our first franchisees, I won't tell you, who it was, but I remember I didn't go over support before the franchise agreement was signed. It was a little bit vague. Like, I didn't exactly detail what we support you with versus what you need to do as a franchisee. And I remember, because I didn't do that, I paid the price. She came into the network and she was trying to look for a venue to expand her program, because she was only at one venue to run her program. And she was getting frustrated. We were giving her like a database of the venues, but she has to call them up and, email them and visit them and secure the place. And she was getting frustrated. And she said to me, I remember, she's like, I thought you guys helped me find a venue. Like, isn't head office going to call up venues for me and secure the venues? And I remember at that time I said, I didn't go over these expectations clearly, because she thought one thing, but in reality, another thing happened. And I looked from that point onwards, I said, okay, before a franchise agreement comes through, I'm going to go over exactly what the franchisee needs to do and what we support you with. But just remember, guys, my first point is support is a two-man band. It's not a one-man band, right? Point number 2 is about the transition point in a franchise. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit of in-depth. So in terms of support, in the first to 6 months, bit of a tongue twister, there's going to be high support from head office. You're new into the network. You're coming into this franchise, getting your feet off the ground. It might be your first time running a business. Maybe it's not. But support from head office in terms of touch points, calls, and contacts is going to be very high in the first 6 months. But after 6 months, the head office support tends to drop, and it becomes more of an ad hoc, like call us or let us know if you need help when you can. And the drop-off points kind of go down. It's still there, but it's not as frequent. And what we've noticed in our network is in the first 6 months, a franchisee would need a lot of touch points, a lot of phone calls. Hey, how do I do this? Can I have help with this? But after 6 months, it's like, hey, don't bother me. Like, don't worry, I'll let you guys know when I need help. That's what we've noticed, because they're more competent, they're more confident. They don't need to be kind of spoon-fed along the way. And I'll give you an example. In our franchise network, when we get a new franchisee come on board, they get weekly check-ins with the weekly phone call that goes for about 30 minutes with Greg, who's our franchise performance coach, and he keeps them on track to making sure they're ready for launch. After they launch their franchise, we then move to quarterly coaching calls where the franchisee can book a phone call with Greg. It's called a quarterly coaching calls to set the targets and goals for the next quarter and come up with a little bit of a business plan for the next 3 months. But as you can imagine, the franchisee, they don't want those frequent touch points every single week, because it's like, hey, I figured out how to do it, leave me, let me go. So that's how support usually works in the network. First 6 months, a lot of support from head office. And then after 6 months, the support will kind of drop off and it's more used as your base, use as you come, so to speak. Is this making sense, team? By the way, drop a comment. I'm looking at the chat feed right now. Drop a comment. Let me know what we think of today's episode, if we're finding it useful. I'm looking at all the comments right now. We got Neil Johnstone on. Drop a comment, Neil. I'm looking at everything right now. And if you guys have any questions as well, drop a comment here on the chat. I'll be able to answer it as well. So that's point number 2. Now, team, I'm going to go over point number 3. And this is probably arguably the most important thing as a franchisee that you need to have if you're going to be successful in a franchise network. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it. The biggest factor that's going to determine your success as a franchisee boils down into one thing. It's not business experience. It's not prior experience. It's not qualifications. It's not likability. It's coachability. I'm going to say that word one more time. The biggest factor that determines your success as a franchisee is coachability. Now, I know it doesn't sound like a flashy word. Maybe you would have liked to heard, the area is a thing that determines my success, or a super duper great marketing campaign, or a super bright, shiny business model, but it's coachability. Let's unpack that for a bit. I'm going to give you an example. Professional sports teams, NRL, basketball, whatever it is. Do you know what the number one trait is that coaches love when they're bringing players on board? When they're recruiting talent coming out of college, coming out of high school. Do you know what the one trait is that they look for that's over talent? It's coachability. They want to know, if I bring this player onto my team, is he or she going to be coachable? Are they going to conform to our team values? Are they going to conform to our standards? If we give them recommendation or a feedback to improve them as a player, are they going to take it on board? Or are they going to say, no, I don't need that right now. Yeah, no worries. Thanks, coach. Yeah. And just brush it off. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the number one trait, is coachability. When we bring franchisees on board into our network, we want to know, are they stubborn, or are they rigid, or are they coachable, right? And you know what the best way is for us to determine that? We would give a suggestion or a feedback point to assist a franchisee. Let's say, for example, we noticed a new stadium has opened up in a franchise location, and we say to them, hey, I would approach this stadium, see if we can get a contract and run your classes at. You know what the really good coachable franchisees do? By the time the phone hangs up, they are calling up the center and trying to book it in. Do you know what the non-coachable franchisees would say? Man, I don't know about a new venue right now. Yeah, let me think about it. What's the hourly rate? It's a little bit far out. Skeptical, right? And by the way, if you don't know already, one of the biggest factors in our business, children's sports, is lack of venues. It's so hard to find a venue. So if you have a venue, you got to get on it super quickly because it'll be gone, right? I'll give you another example, right? Let's say a franchisee says, oh, Emil, my enrollments are a little bit low. I would like them to be here, but they're not there. We might give a suggestion. Hey, why don't you take out a Facebook and Instagram campaign with our marketing partners, D&M Digital? The coachable franchisee, no worries. They'll send an email to the marketing guys. Hey, can we get this campaign up? Let's go. Time's ticking, the term's about to start. Do you know what the non-coachable franchisees would say? How much is it? How do I do it? Is it going to be worth it? Yeah, maybe I'll test it out. Skeptical, right? So coachability is the number one trait that you can have as a franchisee. And to be honest with you, that's what we're looking at more and more. We're looking to see if a person comes into a network, are they going to be coachable or are they going to be rigid and not take any of our feedback on board? Because the reality is, right, who knows the business the most? It's the franchisor. The franchisor or the founder, they started the business. They have a wealth of knowledge. They might not be always right, don't get me wrong. Their suggestion might not always be right. But the franchisor or the owner or the founder of the company has the most knowledge about the industry and about the business. So it kind of makes sense to have your ears open if you get a feedback or a suggestion point on how to improve your business. But a lot of the times, franchisees that are non-coachable will challenge what the franchisor says or challenge what the franchise performance coach would say. Yeah, I don't think that'll work. I know my area. It doesn't really work in our area. I'm not saying it's right all the time. But just remember, if the franchisor started the business, they've got a lot of data points, a lot of feedback about what works and what doesn't. I would say they are a wealth of knowledge. But a franchisee would come into the network thinking, yeah, I've got more knowledge in the industry, even though I've been in it for 6 months. The franchisor's been in it for 10 years. Hope you get my drift where I'm coming from. So that's the biggest factor, team. It's coachability. So let's summarize it, right? We spoke about a lot. Today's episode, if you need hand-holding, don't buy a franchise. And I mean it. If you really need to be hand-holded along the way, don't buy a franchise. It's probably best maybe you stay as an employee, because when you're having a franchise really rewards go-getters, those that are proactive, those that take feedback on board, those that take action. So remember my 3 points. Number one, support's a two-man band. It's not a one-man band. Secret formula for success: your effort plus our support equals your success as a franchisee. That is the magic recipe. Point number two, there's a transition point when it comes to support. The first 6 months, if you're coming into a franchise, high amount of support, high amount of touch points from head office. After 6 months, it's going to become more of a monthly or quarterly touch base with head office. And finally, the third point, the biggest factor that determines your success as a franchisee is coachability. It's not your territory. It's not the business model. It's not a super duper weird, exciting, extravagant marketing campaign. It's your coachability, right? So if there's one clear takeaway, team, that I want you to finish today before we continue on with our lives, if there's one clear takeaway for today's episode, is support does not replace effort in a franchise. Support does not replace effort in a franchise. And if anybody says so, run the other way. They're selling you the dream. They're over-promising and under-delivering on the commitment required. Guys, with that being said, if you enjoyed today's episode, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, tune in every Thursday for a new episode. Neil, everybody else, thank you for tuning in. I might actually pause for a bit. If there's any questions, just chuck them in the chat. If anybody's got any questions, I might take one question about anything in general. Otherwise, we'll continue on with our day. You're welcome, Neil. Appreciate it. All right. That's it for today, team. Have a blessed Thursday. I'll see you next Thursday on a live video. Take care. God bless.